This video is made for adult collectors, well, because it probably helps if I open the script so I can start reading it. Now, I've technically already done a video on this guy a long time ago, but A, that's an old video, and B, it was mostly consumed with the armor for this guy, and I sped up the transformation, so I figured we should do another one where I look at this guy properly, with no interruptions, by himself, so that you can see exactly how good this figure can be without all the upgrades. This is probably one of the most important figures to modern Transformers collecting, but not in the way that you might expect. I mean, it's pretty much what I personally compare primes to nowadays, because this was most people's definitive G1 prime for years till we started getting some really good G1 primes as of like, I don't know, Combiner Wars era-ish, maybe after that. Classics was a little line in 2006 that kind of sort of started what modern generations is. Like, one could argue Universe was that, but I personally feel like Classics is where it all came to be, and this figure was at the forefront of that. And this thing still holds up to this day, being such a solid and chunky prime that looks good most of the time, only really lacking in some modern features like ankle pivots. Actually, I think it's only ankle pivots and maybe wrist swivels. He has everything else. I love the stylization of the design. The angles on the chest and the shoulders, the tower blocks for the legs, and the shield on the arms. Yeah, I remember everyone complaining about these little shield things when the toy was still super relevant, and now it's become an iconic part of the toy's design. I also very much enjoy the yellow. Primes with yellow eyes is just a thing I like, so I kind of wish that extended to the eyes on this guy, but they went the extra mile with the yellow here on the rest of the body, and I feel it really elevates the design. I have had 4 of this mold in the past. A normal one, the Nemesis one, the Age of Extinction one, yes, there's an Age of Extinction one, and this one. And none of them have ever come with the SMG. I'm always missing that. And I want to get the Magnus version, so hopefully at TFCon I can find one with the SMG. This toy, though, as I alluded to earlier, is probably one of the most important figures in modern Transformers collecting. And it's not because it was the poster child in the toy line that leads to the acronym CHUG, but it's because of modern third party.
Tangent time.
Third party, either you like it or you don't, but this thing is kind of pivotal to it. Now, I'm sure third party would still be here today if this toy didn't come out or didn't have the same impact. But the upgrade kit scene was in full swing back then, and then Fans Project rocked up with City Commander. Pretty dated now, but back then it was all the rage. Even at TFCon 2012, my first TFCon, it was everywhere and everyone wanted it. I remember it was so expensive at the time and people were just eating that shit up. It was, to my knowledge, the first piece of mainstream third party that caught the attention of most people who wouldn't necessarily be interested in all the upgrade kits that were coming out at the time. Releasing in 2008 and making Magnus armor, it sort of showed more of these smaller companies that they could do something like this. Then we got Revenge of the Fallen Bruticus's upgrades in 2010, Fans Project Defender in 2010, Make Toy stuff started taking off, mech ideas, all that sort of stuff, and the figure scene for modern third party just went off with a blast. But this trailer was 2008, and it was, to my knowledge, the first big third party release that had everyone's attention. And this Classics Prime is responsible for that. Love or hate third party, it was important to that bit of the collecting scene of the franchise. And it's also just a baller figure. It should come with 2 accessories, but as I said earlier, I don't have the SMG, but the wind vane can come off his back and become a rifle, though mine's a bit limp. It's old. Wow, that was unintentional, but let's pretend it was intentional. It's a neat looking gun and a cool use of kibble, but I kind of just like the way it looks stored on the back. What's unfortunate though is his hands aren't quite 5mm. Wait, that worked? I swear while I was writing this, none of the guns I tried worked in his hands, but guess what? They are 5mm. So as I alluded to earlier, his posing is not quite this, but it's almost this. It's literally just ankles and wrists. The head can rotate. It can do a full 360 degrees. And if you move this piece of kibble back slightly, back here, he can look down and up. So you have that option there. It just does look a bit weird when he looks up because then that looks strange. But it's there. You have shoulders that can do a full 360. They can go in and out. You have bicep rotation. You have detented elbows. Nothing at the wrist. His waist joint technically has two segments, one up here and one down here. It's mainly just down here that's the waist joint, but you can use the transformation joint at the top to get a little bit more of like a dynamic sort of waist twist to show that certain parts are moving independently. That's kind of cool. Then if you move this out of the way, you can pretty much just you can do that if you wanted to. As you can hear, this is ratcheted as well. Now the hips are strange. They can go forward, but you gotta unclip them, and they go all the way forward, and then you gotta unclip them to go down. And that's because this is the locking point for truck mode. So, does that. They go in and out. You have above the knee swivel, a little bit over 90 degrees of bend at the knee. God, that's always scary. And the ankles can go down and up. So he's pretty posable for a toy from 2006. Actually, he's quite a lot of articulation for a toy from 2006. But like I said, he's not quite up to the same standard as something like this, but he still holds his own against modern stuff, which is nice. So yeah, Classics Prime's robot. Tough, sturdy, solid, fun, and influential to a lot of stuff we have now. Now let's turn him into a truck. Now, to turn this man into a truck, it's a spin on the traditional Optimus transformation. Literally, you have to spin the waist like up here. It's a whole thing. Anyways, so to start with, you want to fold out these panels here. And then we're going to lift this section up and get it out of the way. Not all the way yet. Bring the arms out. Rotate the upper torso 180 degrees. Fold out this grill bumper section here. And then you want to take this entire assembly here and now pull it all the way down. Fold the head in, just like so. And then bring this section up. We'll deal with that later. The legs. You want to fold down the knee pads, fold down the feet, peg them together, bring them up. Now you want to take these panels here and open them up, fold the hands in. So now that the hands are facing back, then you take the shoulders, rotate them forward 90 degrees, rotate the arms down like that so that these shield pieces are facing down, and then bring this in. Now I'm going to pull this back up so I can see what I'm doing. Bring this in, bend the arm in, and sort of just bring this into place, kind of like you're doing Reactivate Prime a little bit. So you bring all this stuff in. There we go, clip it into place. Bring the shield back up, and then fold these panels around, and that completes the truck. And then you would take the SMGs and plug them into the back, but like I said, I don't have the SMGs, but they would peg into these little holes and these little bits right here. So yeah, but there you have truck. Very easy to do. I like flipping that back and forth, and like, you can't really tell how it's gonna work. Like, I mean, you can tell the legs, but if you look at the front, you can't really see how any of that engineering is going to work. So it's kind of nice how it hides most of it away, and most of these panel lines feel like they would fit an actual truck. So I like that. So that's a neat spin on the classic Prime. I'm sorry, I'll see myself out. And he turns into a stylized flat-nosed truck, and man, is this a nice truck. I love the more rounded aspect of it with the segmented windshield section and the way the wind vane works. I love the wind vane. We don't get that on Primes a lot. It's cool. The silver rims and the way the blue flows into the red cab. Okay, maybe that part just sort of cuts into the cab and looks a bit off. But the feet sticking out, but that's like my only real visual complaints with this truck. It's got some paint chips. This is from 2006, and I did buy it at the bottom of a bucket at one Comic Alley Toys, not sponsored. That's my local shop, by the way. If you ever hear me say my local shop, it's this place. But yes, I highly recommend this thing. It's a nice size, nice heft, really neat transformation, and a cool piece of history. And it isn't too expensive if you ignore eBay. eBay is ridiculous now. I honestly, just local stores, cons, and marketplaces, I see this guy go for like Modern Voyager or less. I would avoid eBay. But that's my look at Classics Optimus Prime. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.